My name is Elaine Foster, and on my 77th birthday, I sat in the passenger seat of my daughter-in-law's SUV, pretending to admire how the Ohio winter made the sunlight look very clean. I kept my purse on my lap, not because I am fragile, but because it was heavier than it should have been. Tucked inside the lining was a GPS key fob and a phone with one message ready to send, a single word that would tell my attorney to act. It was a silly precaution. That's what I told myself as Megan merged onto the highway. I adjusted the scarf at my throat and let the fabric remind me I was still mine. Megan liked to call me Mom when she wanted something. Mom, she said now, honey at the edges. We're going somewhere special. You won't have to worry anymore. It'll be permanent. That word hit me the way black ice hits a tire. I kept a pleasant smile and watched the exit numbers float by like missed chances. Ahead, the skyline thinned and the fields opened, and I could smell the faint antiseptic you find in places where people are put away. I am not a woman easily frightened. I taught school, raised 3 children, buried a husband. But fear is not always a scream. Sometimes it's a polite heartbeat that refuses to slow. I slipped my thumb into the purse and pressed the message. The phone clicked the way a door clicks when hope is still on the other side. I kept breathing, counting quietly. Almost there. Megan chirped. You're going to love the community. They have movie nights, crafts. She used the voice people use with toddlers or dogs. I watched her hands tighten on the wheel. She didn't look cruel. She looked determined. Behind us. Somewhere far at first and then closer. A siren wound up like a bad memory. Megan glanced into the mirror, annoyed. I kept my eyes on the forward road, the future narrowing to a single ramp, and told myself I would not be erased today. Red and blue spilled across the dashboard. Megan hissed and guided the SUV onto the shoulder. Unbelievable, she said, all tight jaw and shiny composure. I laced my fingers and pictured the birthday cake Henry promised to bring that evening, a small island of ordinary I could still believe in. Gravel popped under the trooper's boots. He stopped at my window first, young face under a brim, voice steady. License and registration, he said to Megan, and then to me. Ma'am, are you all right? I sent a message to my attorney, I answered. I'm being taken somewhere I don't want to go. Megan laughed, brittle and quick. Officer, I'm taking her to lunch. It's her birthday. She gets nervous when we try to surprise her. She lifted her eyebrows at me like we were sharing a joke. The trooper's glance flicked from my purse to my hands and back to my face. Whatever he saw made him shift his stance. Ma'am, would you step out of the vehicle? He asked. Megan's fingers tightened on the wheel. He noticed. Please. Cold air cleared my head when my shoes met the shoulder. He moved me toward the front of the car, where the wind stole the cleaner smell from the vents. Do you feel unsafe with this driver? He asked. I feel like I was promised lunch and delivered to a destination I didn't choose, I said, and I pressed a button that tells someone where I am. He nodded. Behind us. A second patrol car rolled in and stopped. The first trooper tapped the hood and addressed Megan in a tone that brooked no argument. Engine off and hands on the wheel. Then, to me, more gently. Mrs. Foster, we're contacting the number you texted. Would you wait here with me? I stood with him while the engine ticked and the sky brightened. Megan stared straight ahead, jaw set, the word permanent hanging in the air like frost. A radio crackled. Someone said my name the way you do when you want proof. The trooper exhaled, as if a puzzle piece had clicked. All right, he told me. We're going to get this straight. I believed him enough to breathe, but believing is one thing. Going home again would require its own kind of work. The second trooper approached with his radio still at his shoulder. We reached Daniel Reeves, he told the first. He represents Mrs. Foster. He received a distress text and has documentation about prior attempts to relocate her without consent. Documentation and consent steadied my knees more than the wind. Megan tried a smile that was all teeth. "Officer, this is insane. I'm Percy's wife. Ask him. He made the arrangements. It's a beautiful community. She'll have friends her age." "Arrangements?" the first trooper asked. His pen hovered, but he wasn't writing. "For what, exactly?" "For assisted living," Megan said. "Long term. It's better for everyone." "Did Mrs. Foster consent?" he asked. The pause on my name gave the question weight. Megan's stare slid past me to the fields. "She's forgetful. It's complicated." "I am not," I said. "My memory is fine. My knees complain, and I dislike basement stairs. That is not consent." The second trooper's radio murmured, "Sir, we have a record of a non-refundable deposit made by a Percy Foster at Meadow Pines Care and a prior wellness check at Mrs. Foster's residence last month, initiated by an attorney." The first trooper nodded and closed his citation book. "Ma'am," he said to Megan, "turn off the engine and step out of the vehicle." She stared at him like he'd mispronounced the alphabet. "On what grounds?" she asked. "Investigating a possible attempted kidnapping and elder abuse," he said. The words laid steel under a moving train. They cuffed her with the restraint of people who prefer not to use force, but will when they must. Megan's mouth worked, searching for a version of the truth she could live with, but no words arrived. Traffic slowed, the way it does when strangers sense a story they will repeat later. A door shut, a lock thumped, and the car took her away. The first trooper turned back to me. "We can have someone drive you home. Mrs. Foster. Mr. Reeves would like to meet you there." Home sounded like a promise I could test. I nodded, steady because someone had named the danger out loud. Naming things is the first step in keeping them from happening again. By the time the patrol car eased into my driveway, the sun had slipped behind the maple without committing to a sunset. Daniel Reeves stood on the porch in a coat too thin for Ohio, holding a folder against his chest as if the wind could rifle it. He looked younger than he sounded on the phone. Hair the color of coffee left on a burner too long, eyes kind in a tired way. "Mrs. Foster," he said, offering his hand. "I'm glad you pressed send." "So am I answered. "I wish I hadn't needed to." Inside, he took the chair my husband used to favor for Sunday crosswords. He opened the folder and spoke in soft, precise sentences, the way a good doctor does. "We have last month's wellness check. We have your email stating you do not consent to relocation. We have today's text, and we have notes indicating your son has been exploring your late husband's policy." "Percy," I said. The name felt like a cracked tooth. "He believes problems can be paid to be quiet. You are not a problem. You are a person." Daniel said. He slid over a draft declaration and pointed to where my initials should go. "We'll file this if necessary. Today, I suggest we document what happened and tell your family the facts, on your terms." I looked at the wall where our children's school pictures used to hang, frame outlines still faint on the paint like ghosts who prefer order. "Facts," I said. "Yes?" We drafted the email together at my kitchen table, the one with a dent from the time Percy dropped a can of tomatoes and swore he'd fix the floor. I kept my tone even. I wrote that I'd been promised lunch, that the car turned toward Meadow Pines without my consent, that the police intervened, that my attorney had been notified because I had seen a pattern forming. I wrote that I would decide where and how I lived until a doctor told me otherwise. When I hit send, the house felt like a bell that had been struck. Daniel gathered his things. "Expect replies that feel like weather," he said. "Storms have patterns too." I walked him to the door and watched the street settle. My phone buzzed on the table behind me. Then again. The storm arrived right on time. The first reply came from Henry, as I knew it would. My youngest has always been quick to stand where the ground feels right. Mom, I'm on my way after work. Do you want me to bring the cake early? I stared too long at the words bring the cake and had to sit down. I wrote back that any time was fine, that I wanted yellow with chocolate frosting, that I would make coffee. Marissa's message chimed in next with the urgency of a young person who recognizes a pattern before the older world does. Grandma. What happened is called elder abuse, and I've been reading about it for a class. I can come this weekend. Do you want me to research local resources? Her offer was not an opinion, it was a door propped open. I said yes because saying yes is a way of taking up space again. Laura's response could have been a form letter. Mom, Percy has a plan. He just wants you safe. Maybe hear him out before making everyone upset. There were no question marks. Even the word safe felt like a dress borrowed from someone taller. It didn't fit, but she wore it anyway. Percy didn't email. He called. His name on my screen was the old picture of him at 8, grinning with a missing tooth. I let it ring 3 times, then picked up. Mother, he said, already wounded. You made me look like a monster. I described what happened. I said, monsters are made by acts, not by descriptions. He sighed. Megan wasn't thinking straight. She thought it would be easier if we just got you there and let the staff show you around. It's a beautiful place. There's a koi pond. I looked at my winter yard, stiff and honest. You can put fish anywhere, I said. That doesn't make it a lake. He was quiet, then said, I'm coming by tomorrow. We'll talk in person. We'll straighten this out. After I hung up, I let the cold push against my shins until my legs ached pleasantly. The clock in the hall counted ordinary seconds. I turned on the porch light because confrontation looks different when it has to walk through a square of brightness to reach you. Percy arrived the next afternoon wearing his management smile, the one with tight corners and eyes that scan for an exit. He hugged me the way people do when witnesses are present, then stepped back and looked around as if evaluating a property. You should replace that railing, he said. It's not safe. You can hold it while we talk, I said, and led him to the porch. The air had the metallic taste it gets before snow. He made a triangle with his feet the way salesmen are taught. I'm sorry about yesterday, he began. Megan was trying to help. Meadow Pines has a 90-day guarantee. If you hated it, we could... You paid a non-refundable deposit, I said. His jaw clicked. Daniel found the record. He also found notes you requested from Dad's insurance agent. A flush crept up his neck. It's not like that. It is like that, I said. You are drowning. You think moving me will fix your numbers. You see crises in columns, red now, black later, but I am not a column. I am the ledger. I can't be the bad guy for trying to make sure you're cared for, he said. Laura agrees. We talked as a family. You talked as a committee, I said. The subject was not invited. That is a hostile takeover by another name. He didn't sit. Tell me what you want, he said finally. Cancel any arrangement made without my signature. Stop touching policies that are not yours. Put in writing that my home, my decisions, and my accounts are mine until I say otherwise. Pay the fee for canceling the deposit you made with Meadow Pines. His eyes slid to the street, where a neighbor walked a dog who did not pull on the leash. That fee is steep, he said. So is losing a mother while she is still breathing, I answered. You don't get to balance that budget. He looked back at me, eyes wet in a way he tried to blink dry. You always talk like this when you're angry, he said, like a judge. Like a teacher, I corrected. The test isn't curved. It's pass or fail. He swallowed. "I'll call them," he said. "I'll fix it." He didn't say when. The week unraveled like a sweater caught on a nail. Daniel filed a statement with the court and sent letters that were polite, in the way knives are polite when kept in a drawer. Megan was booked and released pending arraignment. I answered questions on a recorded line about what had been said in the car, whether I had been touched, whether I had ever been diagnosed with anything that might impair my judgment. No, and no, I said, and wished the word no felt less like a shield and more like a door. Percy emailed a screenshot of a cancellation request to Meadow Pines and a bank transaction that made my stomach twist. Money we both knew he didn't have to spare. He didn't ask for thanks. He didn't apologize either. Laura texted that public drama helps no one. I answered that privacy is not the same as silence and turned my phone face down. At arraignment, Megan stood very straight. The prosecutor offered a plea, 9 months in county with time suspended pending 2 years of probation, restitution of the deposit, mandatory counseling, and a no-contact order with me. She stared at the table the way people stare when they finally see the bill in the flourishes of the menu. Her attorney whispered. She nodded once. I watched and did not enjoy it. Justice, when it is yours, is an odd-tasting thing. Afterward, Daniel and I sat in his car in the courthouse lot, the heater pulsing warm air at our shins. "You have a choice now," he said. "Live as you were and hope the lesson holds, or write a new chapter while the ink is still wet." "What would you do if I were your mother?" I asked. "I would want you near support," he said. "Near the granddaughter who understands the system you just navigated. Near son." The map of my life had been a triangle. Ohio at one point, my children at the other two. When my husband died, the triangle shifted. Now it wanted to become a line. Marissa had already sent links to apartments in a quiet California town. I pictured myself on a porch that faced west. I told Daniel I would think. By the time I reached home, I knew I was done thinking. I began to pack. The movers wrapped my life in paper that made a cheerful crackle every time they folded it. Henry carried boxes to the truck and told terrible jokes to keep his throat clear. Laura did not come. Percy appeared for an hour, put 2 boxes in his trunk, things he said he would repair on his own time, and left with a hug that felt like an IOU. When the front door shut behind me for the last time, I touched the wood and thanked the house out loud for having been a faithful witness. California smelled like citrus and exhaust and second chances. Marissa met me at the airport with coffee that was too sweet and a sign that said, "Welcome home" in letters cut from old magazines. The apartment we found together had a balcony with a stubborn geranium and a view of a street where neighbors actually met one another's eyes. I learned the way afternoon light pools in corners out here, a gold I'd only seen in movie posters. Healing is not a word I use lightly, but the body keeps an honest ledger. I slept through the night. My knees lowered their complaints. I joined a Tai Chi group in the park where people moved like careful clouds. After class, a woman named Rosalie said her sister had been pressured into a trial stay that felt like a trap. I wrote down Daniel's number and remembered how rage becomes useful when it's pointed at the right door. Marissa's class project became our outline. We met at my small table with iced tea, sweating into coasters, and sketched a plan for a nonprofit that would provide seniors with scripts, checklists, and referrals. We argued over the name like it was a child. In the end, we called it the Ledger. Because that is what our lives are. And because numbers cannot be bullied into meaning what they do not. When the website went live, a message arrived from a woman 3 towns over. Her brother had tried to move their mother for her own good, and she felt crazy for thinking no meant no. I wrote back, No, you feel sane. Let's talk. The first month in California passed like a slow tide. I learned the names of baristas who never rushed me, the crossing guard in the sun hat who waved at everyone. I learned I could be new at 77 without becoming small. Percy called on a Sunday. I canceled everything, he said. I paid the fee. I set up an alert with your bank that emails me anytime I try to log in, so I don't. I'm going to meetings about money. I know you don't owe me anything. The old ache in my chest shifted. You owe yourself something, I said. You owe your wife the truth about why she thought kidnapping me was a solution. He was quiet. Megan and I are working on it, he said. She took the deal. She says she's sorry. I don't know if that changes anything, but I wanted you to know. I hope it changes her, I said, and I hope you remember that help is not control with a nicer hat. After we hung up, I stood on the balcony while traffic braided into a hush. Laura hadn't called. Maybe she would. Maybe her version of love required distance. I could not do her work. What I could do was keep my door open. Marissa and I hosted our first workshop at the community center. 3 grandmothers and a widower named Tom came with notebooks and stories. We practiced sentences that draw boundaries without apology. We talked about powers of attorney and what to say when a social worker doesn't listen the first time. When class ended, Rosalie's sister hugged me so hard my shoulder popped. You didn't just help, she said. You made me feel unerasable. That night, I sat at my small table and wrote a letter to myself on the good paper. I wrote that fear can mimic politeness, that love without consent is not love, that the word permanent should belong to sunsets and vows freely made. I wrote that on my 77th birthday. Someone promised me lunch and tried to take me somewhere I could never leave, and that I chose differently. When I put the letter away, the room felt steadier. Outside, a neighbor laughed, and the sound climbed the stairs like a friend. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy these family drama and revenge stories, please subscribe and join me for more every day.